Hello, community scientists. I'm very happy to be making another video with y'all today. We're going to cover going through and recording data on this Fava Bean Community Science Project data sheet. Now, you should have received this data sheet with your Fava Bean seeds, the one I have shown here, where it has a unique ID, address, some data information. If we scroll down, a little overview of the project and this data that I want you all to collect. Now, if we scroll up, we're going to walk through and do a quick example of what this should look like. So the unique ID, this is just your name. If you don't feel comfortable giving your name, make up a fun name, be it Fava Power, we'll call it, right? Fava Power. This is the name that we're going to put in. Maybe put another value next to it, a number 54 or whatever you want to name yourself. Just be consistent when you upload this data. If you feel more comfortable putting your name, you can go ahead and put your name. Names are preferred because they're easier for us to track, but that information isn't saved at the end of the day. It's just to make sure that we have a nice, complete collection of your data pieced together with the rest of your data. In this area, you can put a city. You can. I'm from Chico, so I'm going to put Chico, CA, 95928 zip code, and that's perfect information for what we're doing. If you feel more comfortable putting your home address to help us really narrow it down, you're welcome to do that. But for us, the city and the state are perfect. Now, when we talk about this data, this is that printed off sheet again that you had, right? So you've been recording some of this, such as planting date. Maybe we planted ours on 11/15/2020 for both of these varieties. So we just put that value in our paper, just write it in. Number of seeds sprouted after 30 days. Y'all should have been given a total of 6 seeds. If you have more, or if you have less, maybe we accidentally sent you 2 packets, just divide that number by 2 to make it work. But ideally, you have 6 seeds to work with, right? So if all 6 seeds germinated or sprouted after 30 days, just put 6 in there. And hopefully you didn't have too many losses, so the number of sprouted seeds after 60 days is also 6. For each of the Windsor in this column and the Vroma in this column varieties. Flowering date, this is just the date of the year that it flowered. Maybe you have some early flowering material and you planted it early down in the LA area. You probably have stuff that's maybe even thought about flowering already. We say 1/24/2021, and maybe we saw that Vroma flowered earlier, 1/18/2021. And these are just these data, these values that you've seen in your own backyard, right? Or at your community garden, or wherever your fava beans are growing. Now, the same time that you see that flowering plant, we've asked you to dig up one fava bean plant. Just dig up the root and count the number of those little bumps, those nodules that are on that main taproot. We've got some good descriptions of what that looks like down here. We see those nodules are those clusters that are forming on the roots. They're not bad for the plant. In fact, they're good for the plant. This is that home of that nitrogen fixing activity, right? That's where the microbes in the plant come together to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and make it available to the plant. Okay. Maybe you counted 120 on the Windsor variety. Maybe you counted 187 on the Vroma. Great. Put that information in this sheet that you have and keep going, right? And we'll do the same for all of these. The date that that first pod forms on your plant, you can write that date in here. The number of pods that you harvest before you chop it down for cover crop for both of these varieties. Anything that you see for insect and disease. If you don't see any insects, no insect problems. Or maybe you say that there were severe insects that really started showing up around the time of flowering. You'll just make that note in here. This is a pretty open-ended one. This is for you to share that information that you observed with us. Some of the diseases that you might see could be brown spots on the leaves. That's called chocolate spot. Any other issues that you see, go ahead and record them. And that's the bulk of it. Any additional notes you want to add? Greatly appreciated. Share what you saw. Now I'm going to go from here and we're going to shift to looking at how to enter this data. Take it from this note card to the website. All right, welcome back. We are here on the Fava Bean Research website. We're at the home page. We see our community information, a little bit about us, working with us, all those fun things. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this website at this point, right? Go to this Community Science tab and click the Participate button. If you haven't gotten it already and need to reprint, you can click the Download Datasheet button here. That'll give you that data sheet that we just talked about. If maybe you lost your data sheet earlier or just want to have a backup. When it comes to submitting that information, you can follow this link here, or you can go back up to the Community Science tab and scroll down to that button that says Submit Data. Click that. And all you need to do at this point is transfer that data from your sheet to the web page. So you enter your name. I'm going to enter my name. I'm in Chico. And then we're going to enter information on a variety by variety basis. We have this drop down. We can enter our data for the Varroa or for the Windsor variety. Those are those two columns that you have on your data sheet. So I'm going to start with Windsor. That's the first one that shows up on your data sheet. I've got a couple extra questions. How do you grow the plant? Do you grow it in a container, a raised bed, a greenhouse, or a covered bed, or in your field or a garden? I like to grow mine in the field. So that's where mine are growing. That's where I'm going to check my box. The planting date, we already went over. This is, I think, 11/24/2020. We saw that we had 6 out of 6 seeds that sprouted after 30 days, and 6 out of 6 were there again when we checked 60 days after planting. The flowering date, we saw these plants for the Windsor variety flower on 1/24/2021. Whoops, gotta enter this correctly, don't I? 1/24, month, date, year. And we keep entering this data like that. Ideally, we submit all of this data at the same time. Get all of these columns filled. Maybe our first pod date was 3/15/2021. No insects or diseases. 78 pods harvested. We just click that Submit Data button from there. Now this will send that data right to me, and we're set to go for the Windsor variety. But remember, we were testing those 2 varieties, right? We want to know a little bit about Windsor as well. So I'm going to go back up to the Community Science tab of the web page, click Submit Data. I'm going to do that same thing, but for the Varroa variety instead of the Windsor variety. So make sure Varroa is checked. This is a pretty important part of this process, making sure that fava bean variety that you're entering data for is the one that's checked in this data sheet. And again, I grew this in a field or garden. I planted on November 24th, 2020. And again, we go through and submit this data. Flowering date, I think we said was 1/18/2021. I think we said something like 184 nodules. First pod, maybe we saw that on February 28th, 2021. And enter that data from there. Click Submit. And that's it. You know, if you feel like you might lose those sheets, you can enter this data one data at a time. that's totally fine, as long as you keep that consistent, unique ID. It's just your name or whatever other name you want to give. We can put all that information together. That's why we're asking for it. No other reason. So put that together, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks for taking part.